Good afternoon. My name is Hala Tamanova, and I want to thank everybody who joins us in Ukraine Media Center current forum. It's day 475 of the full-scale invasion of our homeland by the occupiers, and now we will be talking about the situation in Zaporizhia region. Joining us online is Yurii Malashko, the military governor of Zaporizhia region. Good afternoon, Mr. Yurii. Good afternoon. Mr. Yurii, I would like to start our conversation with the current events in the region. What is the situation? Well, usually the occupiers continue shelling our tragic villages of Malashko, Kakhovka, and others in the district. We have casualties and injured as resulting from those shellings. The enemy uses guided aviation bombs, MLRS, and cannon artillery. Mr. Yurii, we've heard that the occupiers started using the guided aviation bombs in your area. How is this dynamics developing? What are the consequences of such impact by the aggressor? Yes, they never really stopped to shell us with the guided aviation bombs. Talking about the latest days, those were the bombs which were targeting the civil infrastructure, civil facilities, residential areas where people were living who became the victims of these shellings. So talking about the terroristic act in Kakhovka HPP, what are the consequences for Zaporizhia region and the city of Zaporizhia itself? Well, talking about the city of Zaporizhia, we have potable water available. The water is being taken from the upstream of Dnipro. There are no problems with this, but talking about the downstream, where one of the communities is taking water from the downstream of Dnipro, there are no problems for the time being. We continue taking the water from there. I think that shortly we will experience no problems with this regard. Thanks to the Dnipro HPP, the water level is going up and down within 10 centimeters per hour. Well, talking about the situation in Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, do you know if it has changed since the detonation of the dam of Kakhovka HPP? Well, the situation in Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is stable and under control. The cooling pond has a sufficient level of water and the level of 16.6 meters, which is sufficient for cooling down the reactors. Talking about the water canalization, we take water from the drilled wells and from the thermal power plant, which is located near Zaporizhia NPP. Mr. Yurii, I cannot help but asking, is there any information about the part of Zaporizhia region which is under temporary occupation? Do we have any news from there? What is the dynamics that you observe there? Do the occupiers still exercise pressure on our people there? Do you have any news? Well, the pressure is continuing, the pressure is incessant, first of all. The second, about the water and water supply, they usually take water from the drilled wells or Berdansk water reservoirs, so there are no huge problems with the supply of potable water. The pressure exercised on our people is expressed in forcing them to obtain the Russian passports, or sometimes if you want to obtain some medical aid, you need to have a Russian passport. Do we have probably any news about the evacuation of people from those areas where the battle operations are currently active? Do you have any information about that? Well, first of all, people were evacuated, again, sometimes under pressure, sometimes the food was not delivered to the areas near the front lines, thus forcing people to live closer to the sea. But when the people were coming closer to the sea, they were left on their own, and they had to go back to their homes, and as soon as they come back, they mostly see their homes pillaged and razed, so they have no place to come back to. Thank you very much for sharing this information, dear colleagues. If we have questions on the floor, please proceed. Good afternoon, Irina. I'm sure you can inform. There was an information from the representatives of local communities, from the local governments, that in some communities, for example in Malakaterynivka, not so far from Zaporizhia, the irrigation of the land plots was stopped there, and sometimes there is a dead fish in the shallow areas. Is it a common problem for many communities, or those are some separate cases? Well, look, as to the fish, there is no mass pestilence of the fish. We don't observe such cases. We've seen one such case, a unique case, but we already disposed of that fish. As to Malakaterynivka, in the summer, specifically after the beginning of the agricultural season, the technical water was always insufficient. We are currently aiming at the supply of the potable water, not technical water. In cases like that, the canalization is increased from the Dnieper to take the technical water. For the time being, the heads of the communities report to me that there is no problematic situation arising. Thank you very much. You've already mentioned that you're taking water from the upstream and there are no visible problems there. So how long will such situation persist? How are you going to replenish that upstream so you can continue taking water from there? Is there any need to warn people to save water? Well, talking about upstream, I have to say that the level of water is going up there, so it's mostly a question to Dnipro HPP and further on up the chain of command. So we'll just continue seeing that the upstream level of water is not decreasing but rather increasing. Thank you very much, Mr. Yurii. Thank you for sharing this information. Thank you for joining our broadcast. I'm reminding you, dear colleagues, joining us was Yurii Malashko, the military governor of Zaporizhia region, and right now our team is working on the schedule for tomorrow, so stay tuned, stay with us, work together for our victory, and glory to Ukraine.